Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins. Episode 26 with guest Michele Turoct. Michele has been on the board of directors of the Canadian Institute of Total Biology and is the founder of SOS Doctors. She is officially recognised as a consultant in biological deprogramming, a speaker, a workshop facilitator, as well as a practitioner of recall healing and a specialist in breast microcancers. Michele has experienced illness and recovery herself and is deeply convinced that anyone can regain perfect health even after being diagnosed with a so-called incurable disease. Michele truly believes that we have a huge amount of power inside us that is just waiting to be manifested. Michele, you are also the author of chapter 65 in Heal Yourself, my book. And welcome to the Heal Yourself podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, I'm very happy to be with you today, Sarah, and to share some information so the people they can make their own healing easy, much easier, and have a lot of confidence in their journey to heal themselves.
Because there's so much that we can do, isn't there, for ourselves?
Yeah. Because I think it's very important, and I say it in your book that we have so much power inside of us, and we have to make a connection with this power. And of course we can take the advice from our doctors and the people around you, and reading books and everything, but I think it's at the end it's very, very important that you have some confidence in yourself, and that you stay connected with yourself to know what is good and what is not good for you. Every person is unique, so
yeah. Would you like to share what you've healed and how you healed it?
Oh my God, it's a long journey, and I could read a book about this, but especially when I had almost 20 years ago now, when I had the diagnosis of Myasthenia Gravis, which is an autoimmune incurable disease. But I am cured for 19 years, from
Fabulous.
this. So I always say if I did it, anybody can do it. We are all made of the same essence. So it's a rare. It's considered as a rare disease. So and me, it was the affecting mainly my eyes, but it could have been any muscle of my body. But and I was almost it took almost a year before I had a diagnosis, because I did not know what was happening to me, and I could not work for about 2 years, and I I want to see a lot of specialists, ophthalmologists, neuro-ophthalmologists, and all kinds of doctors, and they did not understand. They did not know what to do with me. So it was it was very difficult, and I really wanted to at least to have a diagnosis, to know what was my problem. And at the same time, I was doing so many things. I have a long list of all kinds of things I did. You would tell me drink your own urine, I would do it, or I was doing so many things, because I thought, in my head, uh, I knew before I knew about the work of recall healing or anything. I knew even when I was young, I had a feeling that we have a lot of power inside of us, and that we can use it, especially to heal. So I knew that I could heal, but I did not know how. So I was doing all kinds of things, and and after about 10 months, when finally a neuro ophthalmologist from the Montreal General Hospital referred me to a neurologist, because he suspected myasthenia gravis. So I went to that very good neurologist, and I had some tests to see if I was suffering from excuse me, from that disease. And especially those two tests, were just like torture. It was because I had a long needle in my forehead here, and I had to move my muscles in my forehead, and also I had shocks. I had like shocks. I had the electrode everywhere on my face, and I received about, I would say, 80, 90 electric shocks.
Wow.
And I had one here in my neck, and it was, I'm telling you, it was just like torture. It was the nurse who was there with the neurologist. She was almost crying because just seeing me, uh, and I I accepted that that test, because it was really, really hard, really difficult. At one time, the tears were coming from my eyes, because and I was trying not to move too much, but I wanted so much to have a diagnosis,
Yeah.
to know what was my problem. This is why I accepted to to suffer.
Yeah.
So finally, to make a long story short, um, 2 weeks after I met the neurologist, and he told me, well, finally, you are suffering from a rare disease, which is called Myasthenia Gravis. It is an incurable disease, and if you are lucky, you will stay like this. But usually, it should get worse, and and I was still young, and I was a very active woman and very independent. So for me, there was no question that I will even stay like this. And he
Yeah.
told me, you can even die from this, because it was affecting the muscles. So if it was affecting the muscle of my lungs, for example, it's like I cannot breathe, so I
Yeah.
can die. I could die from this. So anyway, I was when I had when I finally had that diagnosis, for me, and somewhere I say I was a kind of lucky, because the way I was, don't ask me why exactly, it was like what he told me went like 5 feet over my head, because I was, no, I'm, in my head, I was saying, no, doctor, you don't understand. You don't know me, because I will heal. And
Yeah.
in my head, I went out the office, and in my head, it was very clear that I will heal from this. I did not know how exactly at the time, but and and also, as I said, I was doing all kinds of things, and as I was not able to work, I was working at the commission school board at the time, and I needed my eyes, of course, to do my work. And so I was in my head, I was thinking, well, my job is, every day I have to do something, in regard of my healing. You know, every day I have to do something to help myself to heal anything, you know. So one day I heard about somebody was giving a conference downtown Montreal about anti-gymnastic, you know. So it's about the muscles. And so for me, going to downtown Montreal at the time, because I could not drive my car anymore, you know, by bus and metro, it was very difficult because I really had a hard time with my eyes. So anyway, I went there because I really want. I was focused that I have to do something every day in order to make my own healing, you know. So so there I met a woman, and she told me about well, at the time it's like a total biology, or you know, recall healing. And she said, do you know about this? And I said, no, I don't know that. I don't know anything about that. And she said, oh, me neither, but I can give you the name of somebody who teaches, you know, total biology, and decode, how you can decode, deprogram, deprogramming from your conflict, from your illnesses. So I said, oh yeah, okay. I was I was open to anything. So the next morning, the first thing I did when I woke up, I phoned that person. And 1 week after I met him, and I started to do the work. And at the time we could call this total biology, you know. So to make a long story short, again, I did the work. I really did everything he was telling me, and finally, and I at the same time I started to follow some courses, and finally I healed completely, and I healed without any medication, because the neurologist, he tried to give me mestinon, you know, kind of, of medication, and it did not work. It did not do anything. So finally I did not take any medication, but I healed with all the work I did of to understand what was behind that problem. Because you know, it doesn't come from the sky. You know, it doesn't. We don't catch. We don't catch an illness. You know, it talks about our story, about what we've lived. So we have, and I always say, you know, also it takes some courage to go there and see what is the problem. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the work
That-
I yeah, and the work I did, you know, I compare, and what we do in like in recall healing, you know, you have to imagine you have to imagine an iceberg, you know. So the symptoms are the tip of the iceberg. So most of the time, you know, we take some medication, we have a surgery, or we can take like um, some supplements, vitamins, and everything, and it's all good, you know. I'm not saying it's not good, but it's good to do this, and very often we have to follow what the doctors are saying. But at the same time, it's good to ask ourselves, and or you know, meet somebody to help us to see what is the real problem behind the symptoms. So
yeah,
the and that's a work we are doing at the bottom of the iceberg. You know, we have to go, because if there's a tip of an iceberg, of course there is uh, there is all that big part underneath the water that you don't see.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be unconscious, or also it's a way of surviving. We don't want to see what's behind our problem, our symptoms, because it's not always consciously. We don't do that consciously. It's a way of survival. We do this to protect
Yeah.
ourselves.
And is it is
So
it is it looking at your thoughts and your beliefs and your behaviors and picking out the origins of those?
yeah, yeah, so as I said, there is it takes some courage to go there, to see, like, if I have some problem, it could be because I'm working at I have that job, and for many years I cannot stand my boss anymore,
Yeah.
and after a certain time, it's causing you a lot of stress, but you are more or less aware of this. You continue to work, but one of these days, maybe you will have some problems in your body, because it will somatize in your body, that stress, that problem. So you have to, whatever the problem, again, you can take some pills, you can have some massage or whatever, and it's all good. But to really make a difference and to go faster, I think this is what I think. I'm not saying what I say is you have to do everything I'm saying. I'm just talking about my own experience. But I've seen some people around me also who experienced things like I did. So this is why I'm pretty confident to say this. But every person, has her or his own journey, and each person has to follow um, their intuition regarding what is good for me and what is not good for me, and if it resonates for me, what you know what kind of approach is good for me, or what kind of therapist is good for me. So, but yeah, I think if we want to accelerate our own healing, it's good to have the courage, because, as I said, it takes a lot of courage sometimes to see what's behind, what's the real problem, and to see, well, and sometimes you need somebody to help you, because again, it's a way of protection. We are blind very often. We are blind on our own conflicts, so this is why, even if we read books and we're doing all kinds of things, we stay blind on our own conflicts, because it's a way of protection. And sometimes we were that problem was there for so many years, so we were protecting ourselves for for so long, that this is why it's difficult sometimes to do it by ourselves. you know
Yeah.
we
Because
sometimes we need somebody else to do that work. you know
Yeah, because often we don't see the amount of levels that we've built up around us as survival mechanisms to protect us. As we've gone through some emotional traumas, we put a level around us, a layer around us, and then there's more on top, and we put another layer around, and we lose track of how many layers we've built around us, like an onion, if you will.
yeah
For protection, and with people like yourself and myself and other coaches, we can help people undo those layers and reach the next layer, and then understand why that layer was put there and remove it, and then reach the next layer and then understand why that layer. And it's totally that we've come from through as a survival mode. We've built
Yeah,
these layers around us. And like you say, often we don't even see that we've done that
yeah,
because it's been a subconscious thing. We've put up barriers and set harsh boundaries, but it's quite often it's come from our subconscious mind. So we're
yeah.
not conscious of what we've done.
Yeah, and also now and I'm not the only one to say this, of course, and even uh, Dr. Bruce Lipton is talking about, what happened, what we lived in, especially the first 7 years of life, and also in recall healing we are talking about like a project purpose, which is mainly like 9 months before the conception of your mother, 9 months before conception, the 9 months of pregnancy, and the first 9 months of life. What happened there in with your mother or with your inside the family is it's leaving a big mark on you, on us, even if we are not born, because in energy what happened there, it's like what the parents lived. It's like we lived the event on the first degree as if we were there, because on and you know some people will say, well, you're a little bit crazy, or what are you saying right now? I was not even born, or I was in the womb of my mother. But it's proven now, there's books about this, that the baby catches everything just as if it was happening to him. So, and it's leaving a big mark on us.
Yeah.
So we have to consider this. And also there's all the now we know, again, it's what happened, especially on 3 generations above us. It's leaving a big mark on us, because in energy we are holding our family tree inside of us, even if we don't like it too much. That this is the way it works. And this is the same thing for everybody, because so often, we don't want to be like our parents, especially when we are younger. We don't want to be like our parents, and we want to live our own life, and we want to be different, and that's okay. But but unconsciously, again, we are holding especially, well, not only the bad things, not only the bad events that happen in the family tree, but we are also holding all the good things, like if your great grandfather was a good musician, you might be a very good musician too. So
Yeah.
good for you. But that will not program any kind of illness. This is not this is not a problem. But so this is why we it explains why so very often our some of our problems are really unconscious, and we have to do the work to bring that to our consciousness in order to heal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we understand our story, our real story from the very beginning, and when we can do a certain work with we work with the informations that we have, but
Yeah.
most of the time what I see is when when you are ready to do a work in your own healing, it's like the universe is sending you the right information that you
Yeah.
need. it's
Yes,
it's really special.
it is. And like you said, it takes courage to want to start that healing work. because you're opening an unknown. You might know some of the issues, but there's some other issues there that can be unknown because they're in the subconscious. But as you say, once you decide to start that healing, things really do happen to support you on your healing journey. And for me personally, I've found people have come into my life at the right time when I've needed whatever it was that I needed.
Yeah. And the more you do the work, also what is you understand, and it's, I think it's very, very important to realize that nobody is guilty. We are not looking like, when you are doing this work, it's not finding that my mother was so bad, or my father, he did not do this, or he did this, and and my great grandmother, how come she was she was a prostitute, or whatever the story. It's not to find it, it's to find information, and to realize that nobody is guilty and nobody is a victim, including ourselves, because it's important to realize that we are just the product of so many things, and we are all doing our best in life, so we need also, I think, for to make our own healing, we have to be very compassionate towards ourselves, towards, of course, everybody around us, but we need to be kind with ourselves.
Yes, and show ourselves the same loving kindness that we would show to other people as well, and the same compassion that we would show to somebody else if they were in our situation. Because I've found at times we can be harsh on ourselves, but have compassion to other people. And that's a programming issue as well. So it's about understanding that we can give ourselves that same loving kindness that we give to others, and it's okay, and we're worthy of it, because often that lack of worth gets in the way of us giving ourselves that same compassion.
And also, I think, to be compassionate with yourself, and I think it's also very important when you are dealing with this, I always say this hyphen ease, this ease.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because it's the disease is your own body expressing a lack of coherence between your mind and your body. So that's why we have the symptoms. It's our body, as Gabor Mate says, it's your body speaking to you through the symptoms, and it's a case of then we need to go and look for what is the cause of those symptoms. Why does my body need to express these symptoms?
Yeah, and it makes me think also that, when we are talking about incurable disease, in French, incurable is incurable, like incurable, incurable. So it's like, if you want like incurable disease, for me, I like to say, well, it means that the cure is in you.
I love it.
So the cure is in you. So it makes you feel more comfortable. We have to be careful, because of course the doctors, they do their best to help us, but when they say when they tell you you have an incurable disease, it's like, well, I'm finished. There's nothing to do with me. Well, I can do some things, take some pills, but it's incurable. But in my book, nothing is incurable, because the cure is in you, incurable, incurable. Well,
and like you said earlier, it's about going inside and understanding, reconnecting with your own inner wisdom or higher self, or whatever you want to call it, intuition. Everybody calls it something different, but it's about that reconnecting with that to work out what it is that you want, because quite often people have disconnected from themselves and their intuition or their higher self, their inner wisdom. So when we reconnect, just sitting quietly and just literally reconnect and feel our bodies and our sensations and our feelings, then we can start to have more understanding of what it is that we need, because the message will always come to us. It might not be words, it might be pictures, it might not be today, it might be tomorrow or next week.
And sometimes it's a very small voice inside of us. Intuition, it's a very small voice inside of us. It's not speaking loud, but so we have to be careful and we have to listen, because most of the time we know, but we don't want to know.
Yes.
So as you said, and it's I think Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden, they are talking a lot about, and even Dr. Joe Dispenza, about the heart-brain connection.
Yes.
So and also it's a good way of preventing disease, because if when you are living something, or when you have to make a decision, you have to be quiet and ask yourself, am I connected? Does my brain and my heart are saying the same thing? Because if your heart is saying something and your brain, your mental is saying something else, and it's not, you might take a bad decision. It's not opening the door for healing, or so we have to be careful about this, to stay connected with us, with who we are.
Yes, because quite often people will reach out to other people for their opinion, because they're not sure about their inner voice, and everybody's got an opinion. And then whose opinion do you take? Somebody else's, and you might ask 3 people and get 3 different opinions. But what is your own? What is your inner voice, your inner wisdom saying, your intuition? And it's about stop asking other people and come back into yourself and ask your own body, what is it that it needs?
Yeah, and also it makes me think, it's written on your book, I also had, like 6 years ago, a diagnosis of breast cancer. It was I have it here, a cancer of the milk ducts, because there's different kinds of breast cancer. And again, it was, I have to say, it was not so easy for me to, as you say, to stay connected with what was good for me and what I had to do in this second journey, because the doctors were telling me what I had to do, and also you have all your friends, your family, and they are worrying, because they love you. They are worrying about you, so they could say, well, do this or don't do this, and it's difficult to deal with the fact that you have a diagnosis of breast cancer. So you don't need too much stress around you, So, and if you start to listen to everybody around you, you will go completely crazy. So
Yes.
and the people, again, they do this because they want to help you, but very often they are transmitting their own stress on you. Just the way they speak, or they phone you much more often than before. Oh, how are you? What are you doing? And the last thing that you need when you have when you are dealing, for example, with a cancer problem, is
Yeah.
to put some more stress from all the people around you. You know, you have enough of your own problem to deal with. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sometimes, um, again, I'm not saying, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just giving you some advices because I went through this, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
sometimes we have to make some distance between the people around us, and like me, I
Yes.
didn't. Well, I'm not saying if it's correct or not correct, but for me, it was the thing to do. At first, I did not tell all the truth to my family because I did not want them to be too worried.
Yeah.
And, you know, because their worries would have
It will come back to you.
back to me, yeah. And
Yeah.
I was doing this to protect myself, not because I did not want to tell
Yes.
the truth. I would be happy to tell them everything, you know. But
Yeah.
at first, I said, well, it's not so bad, and you know, because I had to protect myself.
Yeah.
It was part of my healing, to protect myself, to think about myself. My first job was to think
Yes.
about myself, to make my healing. And so and I did, roughly, I did the same kind of work I did many years before, when I had that myasthenia gravis. And and I had some colleagues and recalling that helped me, that supported me,
Good.
because, as I said, I was blind on my own conflicts.
Yeah.
Even if at the time I studied and I was working in recall healing, but still I needed the somebody else to reflect what I had, what was what uh, to reflect me, what I did, what happened in my life. And you know, I wrote all the events of my life, and I tried to understand what was happening, and I did find it. And finally, again, I healed in a very short period of time. I healed completely, and it's 6 years now, and everything
That's
is
so
fine.
That is so wonderful, really
Yeah,
wonderful. And I've had other healers in my book have said the same thing about people around you and their own fears around the diagnosis and your options for treatment and your own choices. And I've had people who have said they've put friends at a large distance away from them and not had any contact with them through their own healing work, because they didn't want that negativity reflected back at them. So they've had to separate themselves from those people
yeah,
until they had
yeah,
healed, because in their
yeah,
head they only had, I can heal. And yet they had
yeah,
friends and family saying, you can't heal this, you need to do this or you need to do that. And they say, no, don't speak to me, I can heal. And when I'm healed, I will come back to you.
yeah, exactly. And I remember many years ago, I read a book, and there was a story with that man. He had he had a diagnosis of I think it was a cancer, or an incurable disease anyway. And what he did at the time, he rented a small apartment. He went away from his home. He rented a very small apartment, and I think he did not. Well, he told his wife, or you know, the his family around him, but he did not tell his friends, or all the people around him, because he wanted to be alone. So he rented a very small apartment, and he went there, and he did not want to talk to anybody. He did not want the people to say, oh, how do you feel today, and this and that.
Yeah.
And the only thing he did, he was watching funny movies.
Oh,
He
comedies.
comedies, yeah. And apparently he healed himself. He
Yes.
healed himself just by laughing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
all that to say, you have to, even if you have a bad diagnose, you know, to not to take it too seriously, and
Yeah.
to still be try to have fun and to smile and to, you know.
Yeah.
So but I remember him, he yeah, the story was he heal, you can heal by laughing, by having fun. And that's what he did, you know.
Yeah, because it releases all those endorphins in the brain, doesn't it? When you laugh and when even when you smile, you know, the brain's happy chemicals.
Yeah, and he did not want to think about a bad scenario, or he did not want to see himself like dead or half dead or things like this. It
Yeah,
was out
yeah,
of his head. He was just there, and also reading like funny books, things like this. That's what he did, you
how
know.
wonderful, how
Yeah,
wonderful.
he found his own way of healing. And this,
Absolutely. And that will have come from inside him as well. You know, he'll have listened to that inner voice. What do I need? I need to laugh. And he's taken himself away to do exactly that.
yeah, yeah. And also I think that there's one thing I have to say that is bothering me, as especially when the people, they have a diagnosis of cancer, they say I'm fighting against my cancer, you know, I'm fighting. And I think when you are sick, or when you have a diagnosis of a cancer, you know, you well, you need to rest, and you need to keep all your energies for you, for your healing. Okay.
Yeah,
And if you fight just just to emotionally, you know, if you are fighting your cancer,
yeah, yeah,
it's you are taking some of your energies to fight. But it's not good,
no,
because I think you have to keep your own energies to make your own healing. And I
agree.
think you
Yeah,
have to, the way I see it, you know, it's the way I see it. It's me. It's we have to accept that, okay, I had a diagnosis of breast cancer, and not
yeah,
fight against that. I had a diagnosis of breast cancer. So it's my body. I have to thank my body, because my body is trying to tell me something.
yeah,
So, you know, and my cells, even the cancer, what we call the cancer cells,
yeah,
are there to help me. They are trying to tell me something. They are
yeah.
trying to repair something, you know.
Yes,
So we have to thank them, and we have to make peace about this. And I don't like the idea of fighting. And
no,
and so when we do this, we are keeping our energies for ourselves. And um, and we put more chances to heal. And you know, we have to understand that, you know, it doesn't, again, it doesn't come from the outside. It's not like the
no.
cancer was looking for somebody, and you catch the
Yeah,
cancer.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you have to fight to get to get for that cancer to get out of you, or that's not the way it works, you know. So it's talking about our story, about our life. So we have to make peace with this, and see inside of us what was the problem, and adjust, make sometimes we have to make changes in our lives in order to will, and sometimes big changes. This is also why I'm saying it takes a lot of courage in order to make our own healing, because
Yes.
we have to go at the base of the iceberg and see what was the problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so this is why I think fighting the cancer, or and also we do our best to make our own healing, and sometimes there is some on another level of consciousness. We don't know everything.
No.
One of these days we have to admit that we are human beings, and we will die. We will, all of us, we will die. But we do our best in order to heal, and in order to continue to stay here on the planet. But
Yeah.
if we have to live, if we have to leave to go somewhere else, well, we will. And also it makes me think that like, I don't like when I hear if somebody died from something, from cancer or whatever the problem, you say, well, she lost her battle, or he lost her battle. The person did not lose anything, and maybe that person did a lot of things in order to heal, and the people, suppose the one, she did not make it. Well, she what my way of seeing this is the work that she did, what she did, she will bring this with her. It's not, it's not lost. It's not
No.
lost.
No.
And it's not, we don't have to see this as um, uh,
Negative.
a failure. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not a failure.
No.
It's not so we have to be careful, I think, about this. We do our best, as
Yeah.
we do in our everyday life. We do our best, and if we have a diagnosis of illness, we do our best to heal, to make our own healing. But we have also to accept that you know it, if it will work, it will work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it doesn't always depend. It doesn't always depend on you, on us. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work, so we don't have to think that, oh, I'm not good. I did not do the right things, or it's
Yeah. Yeah. And Michele, thank you for sharing all that wisdom. Could I ask you to share one small thing that somebody could do to help themselves on their own healing journey today?
some advice. Well, what I would say, what I think is very, very important in our everyday life, it's to stay connected with who we are. And I think this is mainly the message I'm sharing in your book. Manifest who you really are,
Yeah.
because if we as I'm not saying it's easy, but as much as possible to stay connected with ourselves. We were talking about the heart brain connection. This is what I'm talking about, to be in connection with our heart, to stay connected with who we really are. And,
Yeah.
because so many times we want to please everybody around us, and the first thing we know, we are completely disconnected from ourselves.
Yeah.
So we are opening the door, all kinds of problems. So first, even before, it's a good prevention to stay connected with who we are, to as much as possible make the brain, our heart brain connection. And also it's the same thing when we are sick, when we have a disease problem, to to try to stay connected with our intuition to know what is good for me and what is not good for me, because we are the only one who really knows what is good for us, you know. So we have and we need the courage to say no, no, this, thank you, you know, you're very kind, I understand that you want me to do this, or you want, you have a very good advice about this, and but it's not for me. Maybe it was good for you, but I don't resonate with this, and I
Yeah,
won't take it. And it takes a, you know, some courage to say
it
no,
does. Yes, it does. It does.
and to stay connected, and also very important to be compassionate with ourselves, and not say, oh, how come I have that disease, you know, probably I did something wrong, or
Yeah.
because I'm so stupid, or I did not eat well enough, or I did this and that, and I stayed with that person, and I should have not stayed with him for so long. This is why I'm sick. And you know, it's not good to go there. Don't go there. You
No,
know, don't, it's not worth it to blame ourselves. We don't have to blame ourselves. You know,
no.
this is not what we need to heal and to move on with our life.
Thank you,
That
Michele. Thank you. And where can people find you?
Oh, well, it's very easy. They can buy your book. They can they can buy your book, Heal Yourself,
Thank you.
which is translated now in many languages. Huh?
Yes,
You,
it's in French as
we we can see that just behind you.
well. Thank
and
you.
and in your book they have all my information, but it's easy with my name. You can type my name on the internet, and you will. I am in French. I am conseillère in the, it's a 3w.icbt.ca, ICBT for Institut Canadien de Biologie Totale. But you just type www.icbt.ca and you will find me there. Of course, it's in French. It's in French, but for the English people, you will find me on the site of Recall Healing, which is www.recallhealing.com.
Super. And I'll
I
share
am.
all that below in the text.
Pardon me?
I'll share all that below in the text with the
Yeah,
video.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So,
Thank you so much for joining me on Heal
oh, you
Yourself.
are very welcome, and I'm very glad that I met you today, and I I hope everybody will be able to uh, a lot of confidence in themselves, so they can also, what I really want to say, like, you know, don't get depressed when you have a diagnosis of illness. I know it's difficult to not to get depressed, but try to understand that it's your body is talking to you, and somewhere, you know, somewhere it's a good thing. It's a good thing that you are still living, and that your body is giving you this information. And to finish, I have to say that, you know, those two illnesses that I had in my life, I have to say, except my two children, it's one of the most beautiful things that happened to me in my life. It's to have myasthenia gravis, an incurable disease, and to have breast cancer, because it gave me the chance to understand so many things I had to understand about my life, and to
Yeah.
live a better life now. So that's, you know, it's it's my word. Thank you.
Thank you, Michele.
You're welcome. Thank you.